There are a couple reasons why somebody would want to go to SIMULIA from SOLIDWORKS simulation. But fortunately for us, it's not a one or the other. We can actually use both in the same environment. And sometimes we run into simulations where they're just taking forever to run on our local machine using simulation, or we just need to do something that SOLIDWORKS Sim isn't capable of. But we're able to start off and begin the simulation inside of SOLIDWORKS. So what I have here is just a pretty simple example, something that's easily handled by SOLIDWORKS simulation. It's a 3-part assembly, a steering bracket, has a pin, and then the steering rod and ball. And I have my materials assigned. These are meshed. I have my connections, rollers, a fixed hinge. I have my force on the ball, and we even got results. But for a second, let's pretend that this was a little bit too tough for SOLIDWORKS simulation, and we want to be able to run this faster and with more complex simulations. So utilizing SIMULIA and the 3D Experience platform, I can actually create a structural simulation from inside of SOLIDWORKS that I can then push over to SIMULIA. So it'll go ahead and create it, and I can open this up in 3D Experience. Now with this open in our native 3D Experience SIMULIA app, in this case linear structural validation, it'll initialize the sim, and it'll give me the product, which was that bracket assembly I just had in SOLIDWORKS. I can rename it, and I have the option to either recreate the analysis or just transfer the study from SOLIDWORKS. So that same linear static study 1 that I had, it was a static. I can then import that in. And that'll think for a second. It'll start to transfer our SOLIDWORKS sim and then give me the status. So in this case, everything looks pretty okay. My roller, my hinge, my force, the mesh is actually just defaulting to the 3D Experience mesh. Now, since I don't have this exact 6061 T6 material in my library, it'll throw a warning here that I'm going to have to clean up. So I can close this window, and then in my assistant, the setup is fine, the parts are fine, but I just need to reapply material. I can launch my material palette. I can then look for my 6061 that I have in the 3D Experience library, and I can grab that 6061 T6, and I'll apply that. Now I'm just going to apply it to everything since that's what I had inside of SOLIDWORKS. So I can just pick something, and I'll do the entire bracket assembly. Now at this point, everything else is good, and I can run and simulate this. And this is where that advantage of the 3D Experience platform comes in over top of just traditional SOLIDWORKS simulation. Because although that I can run this with my local machine using the cores that I have, we can also offload this to the cloud and use our credits to run this. So it'll run on the server hardware and not my local machine. Ultimately, what we're left with here are our results. And they're going to look very similar in this case to what we had in SOLIDWORKS simulation. But if we're doing things like really compressive foams or really dynamic or nonlinear simulations, we're going to get better, more accurate results here.